I wish you enough pain and suffering. When people graduate from university or start a new company, their friends and family usually wish them success, happiness, and a smooth road ahead. I don't. I wish you exactly the opposite. I wish you great doses of adversity. I wish you moments where you feel completely lost, where your back is against the wall and where the path forward seems impossible. I wish you that because character isn't built on a sunny day. Character isn't built when your stock price is at an all-time high or when everyone is telling you you're a genius. Character is forged in the fire of near extinction. It is developed when you are 30 days away from bankruptcy and you have to decide what your company truly stands for. Resilience matters more than intelligence. In my life and in the history of NVIDIA, I have seen that the smartest people don't always win. The people who win are the ones who can endure the most pain, the ones who can look at a devastating failure and say, what did we learn and how do we go again? At NVIDIA, we have gone through so much pain, so many failures, that we have become experts at it. We have a saying, our company is only 30 days from going out of business. I've lived with that feeling for 30 years. It doesn't go away. It shouldn't go away. That urgency, that constant awareness of how fragile success is exactly what keeps us moving. You have to realize that greatness is not a destination. It's a way of being. It's a standard. And that standard is often set during your darkest hours. Think about the work that nobody else wants to do. Think about the problems that are so hard, so messy, and so painful that most people just walk away. Those are the problems NVIDIA looks for. We look for the impossible because the impossible is the only place where there is no competition. If it's easy, someone else is already doing it. If it's easy, the marginal value you're adding to the world is zero. We want to do the work that, if we don't do it, would simply never happen. This philosophy of embracing suffering starts with your very first job. People often ask me about my time at Denny's. I was a dishwasher. I was a busboy. I waited tables. I didn't think of it as just a job. I was the best dishwasher Denny's had ever seen. I approached that sink with the same intensity I approach a new GPU architecture today. I organized the plates. I optimized the flow. I made sure those dishes were spotless. I didn't feel like I was above the work. No job is beneath you if you want to build a foundation of excellence. When you learn how to do a simple, humble job with total commitment, you are training your brain to never accept mediocrity. You are building the muscle of resilience. That resilience was tested early on at NVIDIA. We started this company with a vision for accelerated computing. We believed that the PC would become a device for games and entertainment, and that general-purpose computing, the way it had been done for decades, would eventually hit a wall. But our first product was a failure. Our second product was a failure. We were running out of money. We were facing companies that were 100 times larger than us, with more resources, more engineers, and more market share. I remember the moment we were working on the Riva 128. We were down to our last few $1,000,000. If that chip didn't work, NVIDIA would have been a footnote in history. I had to go to my team and tell them that we were going to bet everything on one single design. We had to be rigorous. We had to be humble enough to admit our previous mistakes. We had to apply first principles to everything. We didn't ask, what is everyone else doing? We asked, what does the physics of the problem require? This is a core pillar of how I lead. First principles thinking means you strip away the conventions, the best practices, and the industry standards, and you go down to the fundamental truths of the situation. Why is computing slow? Because the CPU is trying to do everything sequentially. If we can parallelize the work, we can accelerate the result by orders of magnitude. That was our truth. We didn't care that the rest of the industry was focused on making CPUs faster. We knew that the future belonged to the GPU, to the accelerator. But even when you have the right vision, the path is never a straight line. You will fail. You will be humiliated. I have been humiliated many times. One of the most important lessons in our history was our partnership with Sega. We were building the chip for their next console, and after a year of work, we realized we had chosen the wrong technical path. Our architecture was fundamentally incompatible with where the industry was going. If we finished the project, we would build a product that no one wanted. If we quit, we would lose the contract and the money, and we would likely go bankrupt. I had to do something that felt incredibly painful. I had to tell the CEO of Sega that we couldn't fulfill our contract, but I also had to ask him to pay us anyway. I had to admit we were wrong. I had to show extreme humility. To my surprise, he agreed. He gave us the breathing room to survive. That survival didn't come from being right. It came from the courage to admit we were wrong. It came from the resilience to pivot. This is why I tell people that the most successful companies are not those that never fail, but those that can recover the fastest. We have built NVIDIA to be a learning machine. We don't have a rigid hierarchy. We don't have 5-year plans. We have a flat structure where information flows freely. I don't want status reports. I want to know what the problems are. I want to hear the truth, especially when it's painful. In fact, if a meeting is going perfectly and everyone is smiling, I get worried. It means we aren't pushing hard enough. It means we aren't tackling the suffering that is necessary for a breakthrough. We are currently living through the greatest shift in the history of technology. For 60 years, we have been living in the era of general purpose computing. We built software to run on CPUs. We followed Moore's law, expecting that every 18 months, things would just get faster and cheaper. But that era has ended. The physics of transistors has reached a limit. You cannot just throw more power at a CPU and expect it to do more. At the same time, we are seeing the rise of a new way of doing computing. We call it accelerated computing. And the killer app for accelerated computing is artificial intelligence. This isn't just a new product, it's a new industrial revolution. In the first industrial revolution, we took water and steam and turned it into mechanical power. In this new revolution, we are taking data and electricity and turning it into intelligence. Intelligence is the most valuable commodity in the history of humanity, and for the first time, we are manufacturing it at scale. Think about the implications of that. Every industry, from healthcare to manufacturing to transportation, is about to be reinvented. We are building the engines for this revolution, but building these engines required us to make bets 20 years ago that seemed insane at the time. When we created CUDA in 2006, the world didn't ask for it. Wall Street hated it. They asked us why we were spending billions of dollars on a platform that no one used. Our stock price suffered. Our investors were frustrated. That was a long period of suffering. It was a dark ages for NVIDIA, but we stayed the course because of first principles. We knew that if we could make the world's most powerful computer accessible to every scientist and every developer, they would eventually find a way to use it. We believed in the potential of deep learning when it was still a fringe academic theory. We didn't wait for the market to exist. We built the technology and waited for the world to catch up. That is the essence of what we do. We build things that don't exist to solve problems that people don't yet realize can be solved. And that requires a very specific kind of culture. It requires people who are okay with being misunderstood for a long time. It requires people who find joy in the struggle. When I look at our engineers, I see a group of people who are essentially intellectual masochists. They want the hardest task. They want to be told that something is impossible because they know that on the other side of that impossibility is a breakthrough that changes the world. We don't just build chips, we build the future. And building the future is a messy, painful, exhausting process. I often talk about running toward the future. Run, don't walk. But what does that really mean? It doesn't mean moving fast without a plan. It means moving with a sense of purpose and urgency because the window of opportunity is always closing. In our industry, you are either the hunter or the hunted. There is no middle ground. There is no such thing as maintaining your position. If you are standing still, you are dying. You have to have the agility to change your mind when the data changes. You have to be willing to kill your own products to make room for the next big thing. We have done this many times. We have abandoned successful businesses because we saw a bigger mountain to climb. That takes guts. It takes a willingness to suffer the short-term loss for the long-term gain. The strategy we use at NVIDIA is longitudinal. We don't look at things quarter by quarter. We look at the arc of technology over decades. We ask ourselves, what will the world look like in 10 years? And what do we need to start building today to be ready for it? This long-term perspective is only possible if you have a foundation of extreme resilience. You have to be able to weather the storms of the market and the criticisms of the skeptics. We are seeing this play out right now with generative AI. People think it happened overnight. It didn't. It took 3 decades of work on accelerated computing. It took billions of dollars of investment in networking, in software, in libraries, and in silicon. It took a company-wide commitment to a single vision, even when that vision was unpopular. The reason NVIDIA is where it is today isn't because we are the smartest. It's because we were willing to suffer longer than anyone else. We were willing to stay in the game when everyone else packed up and went home. We were willing to be the last man standing in the world of specialized computing. And now that specialized computing has become the most important technology in the world. Does this mean the suffering is over? No, it's just beginning. Every time we reach a new peak, we see an even higher peak behind it. The challenges we are facing now, building planetary scale computers, creating digital twins of the entire Earth to predict climate change, developing autonomous machines that can see and reason, these are even harder than what we've done before. The pain will be greater, the risk of failure will be higher, but that's exactly where we want to be. I want to talk to you about the structure of our work. Why do we do what we do? People think NVIDIA is a hardware company. We aren't. We are a full-stack computing company. We realize that to solve the hardest problems, you have to design the chip, the system, the networking, the software, and the algorithms all at the same time. You cannot optimize one piece in isolation. This is what we call co-design. Co-design is hard. It requires different teams, software engineers and hardware architects to speak the same language and work toward the same goal. Usually these groups live in different worlds. But at NVIDIA, we force them together. We break down the silos. We want the software to inform the hardware and the hardware to empower the software. This creates a level of complexity that is painful to manage, but it results in performance gains that are impossible to achieve any other way. This is the NVIDIA way. We take the path of most resistance. We choose the architecture that is hardest to build but has the highest potential. We don't look for the low-hanging fruit. We look for the fruit at the very top of the tree, the one that requires us to build a whole new ladder just to reach it. That ladder is the computing stack we have built over 3 decades, and it is the reason we are able to see the world differently today. You see, most companies are built to capture a market that already exists. They look at a pie and they try to figure out how to take a bigger slice. We don't do that. At NVIDIA, we look for $0 billion markets. A $0 billion market is a market that doesn't exist yet, but should. When we started working on autonomous driving 10 years ago, there was no market for it. There were no self-driving cars on the road. There was no ecosystem. But we looked at the problem from first principles and realized that a car is essentially a robot. And if a car is a robot, it needs a brain, a massive, high-performance, energy-efficient AI brain. We invested billions into Drive because we believed it should exist. We were willing to suffer through the years of skepticism and the years of zero revenue because we were focused on the work, not the market share. If you want to do the work of your life, you have to be willing to work on things that may never pay off in your lifetime. That is the ultimate test of resilience. Can you dedicate yourself to a vision that the world hasn't recognized yet? Can you find the pain of the unsolved problem more attractive than the comfort of the established industry? This requires a very different kind of company structure. People are often shocked when they learn how I run NVIDIA. I don't have a hierarchy of vice presidents and middle managers who filter information before it gets to me. I have 50 direct reports. 50. In any other company, that would be considered a disaster. But I do it because I want the organization to be flat. I want to be as close to the ground as possible. I want to hear the truth from the engineers who are actually building the future. In a flat organization, there is nowhere to hide. You can't rely on a title to protect you. You have to rely on your ideas and your ability to solve problems. This creates a culture of radical transparency. It's a culture where the best idea wins, not the person with the highest rank. And yes, that transparency can be painful. It means your mistakes are visible. It means your logic will be challenged. But that is how you achieve excellence. You cannot have a high-performance culture without high-intensity feedback. We often tell our employees, no one is a boss, but everyone is a leader. If you see a problem, it's yours. You don't wait for a memo. You don't wait for permission. You run toward the fire. That sense of ownership is what allowed us to survive the great financial crisis in 2008 when our stock price dropped by 80%. People thought we were finished, but we didn't change our strategy. We didn't stop investing in CUDA. We didn't stop believing in accelerated computing. We tightened our belts, we shared the pain, and we kept building. We knew that the physics of the problem hadn't changed just because the stock market had. That is the power of first principles. The market is a fickle thing. It goes up and it goes down. But the laws of physics and the fundamental needs of humanity are constant. The world will always need more intelligence. The world will always need more efficient ways to process data. If you align your life's work with those fundamental truths, you can survive any storm. Today, we are seeing the culmination of that 30-year journey. We are at the dawn of the era of physical AI. For a long time, AI lived in the world of bits. It was about text, images, and sounds. But the next wave of AI will live in the world of atoms. It will be AI that understands the laws of physics. It will be AI that can navigate a warehouse, perform surgery, or manage a power grid. We are building the Omniverse for this very reason. Omniverse is a virtual world where AIs can learn how to be AIs before they ever enter the physical world. It's a digital twin of reality. Think about the complexity of that. To build a digital twin of a factory, you have to simulate gravity, friction, light, and heat. You have to simulate the behavior of every robot and every human in that space. This is a problem of immense scale, and it is a problem that only accelerated computing can solve. We are no longer just building tools for gamers. We are building the foundation for the next stage of human civilization. But as we stand on this precipice, I want to remind you that the danger has never been higher. When you are at the top, you are a target. Everyone is coming for you. And the moment you start to feel comfortable is the moment you start to lose. I still wake up every morning with that same feeling I had in the 90s. We are 30 days from going out of business. This is why I tell you to run. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait for the economy to stabilize. Don't wait for someone to give you a roadmap. There is no roadmap for the future. You have to build it while you're running. If you trip and fall, and you will, get up and keep running. The pain you feel is just the sensation of your character being built. The suffering you endure is the price of admission for doing something that matters. I want you to look at the problems in your own lives and your own careers. Don't look for the easy way out. Look for the hardest path. Look for the problem that makes your heart race and your palms sweat. That is where the opportunity is. If you aren't feeling a little bit of pain, you aren't growing. If you aren't failing occasionally, you aren't pushing the boundaries. We are living in a time where one person with a vision and a GPU can change the world. The barriers to entry have been lowered, but the standard of excellence has been raised. You have more power at your fingertips than the supercomputers of 20 years ago. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to use it to do what's already been done? Or are you going to tackle the impossible problems? NVIDIA is successful today, not because we are an AI company, but because we are a company that learned how to suffer for our beliefs. We are a company that values resilience over comfort. We are a company that believes that the work of our lives is to build things that didn't exist before. The future is not something that happens to us. It's something we create. It's something we forge through our effort, our persistence, and our willingness to endure. Every breakthrough in history was preceded by a period of intense struggle. Every masterpiece was born from 1,000 failed attempts. So, I wish you enough pain to make you strong. I wish you enough failure to make you humble. And I wish you enough success to realize that the work itself was always the reward. The world is moving faster than ever. The old rules of computing are gone. The new era is here. Run, don't walk. Before I leave you today, I want to thank you for being part of this journey. If this vision resonates with you, if you believe in the future we are building together, please subscribe to the channel and like this video. It helps us reach more people who are ready to build the future. And most importantly, if you have questions about where we are going, about the technology, or about how to apply these principles to your own life, leave them in the comments below. I will be reading them and I will respond to them as quickly as I can. I want to hear from you. I want to know what impossible problems you are trying to solve. The truth is, the most exciting part of NVIDIA's story hasn't been written yet. It's being written right now by all of you. We are providing the tools, but you are the architects. You are the ones who will take this intelligence and use it to cure diseases, to solve the energy crisis, and to expand the horizons of human knowledge. The transition from general-purpose computing to accelerated computing is the most significant event in our industry's history. It is a logical, irrefutable conclusion of the laws of physics. It is the only way forward, and because we were willing to suffer through the transition, we are ready to lead it. Now go out there and do the work of your life. Run, don't walk.